Hi, my name is Craig Connon, and I'm the main developer working on Clove. In our previous tutorial, I showed you how to develop your first Clove plugin. And basically what it did was it created a prompt that said, hello Clove. So in this tutorial, what I'm going to show you how to do is create an installer for that plugin. And an installer is actually needed for every plugin, since each plugin can be may be included in an installation process at any time. So the first thing we're gonna need to do is actually modify this class a little bit. And the first thing is we're gonna make this a little more simple. We're going to move the complete method up in the initialization class, and then we're going to remove this. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to actually call super.initialize, and this is actually something I forgot in the last tutorial, so we'll add that. We're just going to remove this. The next notable thing is that I'm going to actually add a settings panel for this plugin, and we're going to get this ready for the installation process so we can actually see some change, or how you can see this being used. So we're going to provide a new class, Clove Hello Plugin Settings, and then we're actually going to provide ourselves with a setting metadata, and we're going to give it a metadata name of username. And this is actually whenever you want to retain the state of the plugin so that it actually saves particular information even when the application closes, you actually need to provide a custom settings class. And what I usually do is just keep it alongside with in the same directory as the plugin. So then the next thing you're going to need to do is actually go into your properties, and you can do that by going to by clicking right click and then going to your properties panel, and then we're going to actually need to tell the compiler to include the setting metadata. So we're going to go into Flex Library Compiler, and we're going to go .keep AS3 metadata plus equals setting. So once we have that ready, we can actually use the core can actually recognize this is actually setting that we want to save. So once we have that, we can close it, and then we can provide it in our Clove plugin. So we're going to create our settings private variable, and then we're going to go Clove Hello Plugin Settings, and then we're actually going to instantiate it in our constructor, and then we're going to replace it in here. So once we have that, we're all set for this plugin, except for one minute detail. We're actually going to, instead of calling Hello Clove, we're going to go hello to whoever the name of the item that's been inputted in our installer we're about to build. So we're going to go Clove settings username. So once we have that, we're actually complete with this plugin, and we can then close it. So we can. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our Clove Hello Plugin Factory, and we're going to modify this a little bit so that our installer knows what to use. So we're going to first make this a little bit simpler. So we're going to go to Clove. We're going to first extend Clove Plugin Factory, and this is actually going to remove the need for this metadata tag, because this is actually going to be needed for the installer. So we're going to provide it in our constructor our metadata, which is just an object, and we're going to say name is hello Clove. So once we have that, we can save that for now. We're actually going to change the installer in just a second. So then we're going to provide our installer, and we're going to create our installer. We're going to call it Clove Hello Plugin Installer. And in here we're going to extend our service installer. We're going to implement iService installer. And it implements the iService installer because the service installer actually provides only a few methods, not every single one. So you know what you need explicitly for the installer. So the first thing it's going to need is actually an icon. And we're going to provide, I already have an icon picked out, so I'm going to actually just create a new subdirectory, and we're going to call it icons. And in here we're going to create a class Clove Hello Plugin Icons. So then we're going to copy our icon in here. We have this one picked out, and we're just going to drop it in there. And then we're going to embed it. And then we're going to say Clove Hello Plugin Icon 32. Okay, so then once we have that set, we can call it. So we're going to return our icon in here. And then the next thing we're going to provide is the install view class. And we're going to just create our install view class, and it's going to be actually kept pretty simple. So then we're going to first create a form, and we're going to give a form item label of name. So then we're going to go text input, label ID equals user name, and we're just going to test this first. So we're going to go return plugin installer view. And for now, we're just going to keep these blank, but we're just going to quickly test this to see where we're at. So we're going to go okay. So once we have that, let's quickly go back to our Clove Hello plugin factory. And again, I'm going to come back to this in a second. We're just going to see what it looks like. So we're going to go installer, Hello plugin installer, and we're going to go Clove Hello plugin installer, so that it only instantiates once if it's being used, because we don't want the to needlessly instantiate the Clove Hello plugin installer. So once we have that, we can let's then go into our clove init.as file, and we're going to make just one simple change. We're going to provide the installer. So we're going to go model.install model.add installer new available internal service, and we're going to go Clove Hello Clove, and then we're going to go new Clove Hello plugin factory. So once we have that, we can debug this and just see what we get. Oh, I need to close this. So one thing we can do is I can show this. We'll click wipe settings, and then we'll debug this again. So now we can go to Clove Hello Clove, and then we'll provide a name. And right now it doesn't do anything. So we'll close this, and we'll add some more logic to our method. So what we can do is we'll do this. This is actually called once on continue. So we go if this dot. So we're gonna do actually sorry. We're gonna do one thing. We're gonna go username. Oopsies. And then we're going to go if this.username or this.username equals nothing. Then we're going to go alert dot show and then we're going to go. But if it does exist, we're going to say we're going to complete installation. Alright, so once we have that, we're going to debug our application once more, and we're going to select Hello Clove. So we're going to first go Craig, and then we'll remove it, and then we'll see, please enter your username. And then we'll select Craig. Oopsies. So the one thing I forgot to do is add it in here. So we're going to go into here, and we're going to go installer, and then we're going to override our data. So we're going to actually skip this. What I'm going to do is simply do this. Start over from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, open our view class, and then we're going to do change, and we're going to say, and since data is actually the installer, we're going to say data.username equals username.text. And just to make sure we have it right, we're going to just see. So there's our public variable. So we'll select Hello Clove, we'll go Craig, we'll click continue, and then we see a prompt, Hello Clove. So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to link all together. I'll link them all together. We're going to link the installer with the plugin so that we actually change the username in the settings to the one that's actually inputted in the text input. But before that, I'm going to quickly explain what the init method does. The init method is used when you need to initialize the application, the installer. So it's initialized once it's selected. So for methods for services such as Facebook or Dig, this is actually would come in handy. So back to the installer, what we need to do is we need to provide our we're going to grab it. We're going to go Clove Hello Plugin. Hello Plugin. Controller. And then we're going to say plugin dot settings. Okay. So we need to go back into our plugin, and we're actually going to need to provide our we're going to need to give back our settings. So we're going to go settings, Hello Plugin settings, settings. So once we have that, we can call it dot username equals this dot username. So once we have that, we're set, and we can actually use this. So we're going to go into here, we're going to install this, deselect all these again, and then we're going to go Clove Hello. We're going to do Craig, oopsies, controller dot plugin. So once we have that, we can do Hello Clove, we'll do Craig, we'll do continue, and then we see Hello Clove initially, but if we initialize this again, we should see Hello Craig. Hello Craig. So I'm going to try this one more time. Again, cut this part out. This is a bug. So we're gonna go. So once we see, okay. So once we see this, we see So we'll do Craig, and then we'll see Hello Clove initially, but once we restart the application, we should see Hello Craig. So, and that's the end of this tutorial. The next time I'm going to explain how to create preferences. So we'll be able to change the username to something else, and we'll actually give an example. We'll have it set in here. So the preferences are going to be in here, and we'll be able to change it there. So, and thanks for watching, and that's the end of the tutorial about creating an installer.